For over 100 years, the Boeing Company has been world-renowned for its advanced aircraft and roles taken in important events. However, the origins of this groundbreaking company are mostly unknown.
The Boeing Company started when the founder William E. Boeing left Yale in 1903 in pursuit of an extremely rewarding timber company. In the process, Boeing moved to Seattle, where it was flourishing with natural resources.
Boeing's love of aircraft came in 1910. Boeing went to an air show with his friends at Dominguez Hills, California. He saw some of the first aircraft. This is where Boeing's love of aircraft began. He went up to one of the star players in the air show, Louis Paulhan, and asked for a ride.
Boeing begged for a ride when Louis finally told him he had to wait. Boeing ended up waiting for 4 days and lost his chance when Louis left in a rush. 5 years after this incident, Boeing ended up enrolling into Glenn L. Martin's Air School.
This is a picture of one of the planes they flew for the air show at Dominguez Hills. After Boeing was done with flight school, he shifted interests into producing his own planes. He created the B&W seaplane, Boeing in Westerville. The B&W was made out of wood, linen, and wire, also known as the Boeing Model 1. This plane was called the Model 1 because it was the first plane Boeing ever made.
This aircraft was the plane that kicked off his love for aviation. Later that year, he was confident enough with his product that he launched his very own aircraft company, Pacific Aero Products, although this was subject to change with the success of the newly made Model C, which was a training aircraft. It led to a contract with the military. The Navy was so impressed with the Model C's performance that they ordered 51 more Model Cs. The contract went so well, William decided to rename his company, the Pacific Aero Products, into a more modern name, such as Boeing Aircraft. After this huge success, Boeing made it official and rebranded his company into the now famous Boeing Aircraft.
After Boeing made his first plane, he began making comfortable passenger airplanes. Just a few years after the original B&W seaplane, the Boeing Model 80 and 80A1 were born. This plane was the first to add comfort to air travel with the introduction of leather seats and a heated cabin, in addition with a few other amenities. The Model 80 had a 12-passenger capacity, while the older brother of the aircraft, Model 80A1, had an 18-passenger capacity and a more powerful engine.
There were only a few kinks with the design, such as a cold cabin and a loud engine. A few years later, after the passenger airliner, Boeing switched its attention towards fighter airplanes. Boeing made the first ever all-metal American monoplane fighter, known as the P-26. This fighter plane was much faster than the U.S. Army Corps' wood and fabric biplane fighters. The P-26 was the first of a kind and a step in the right direction for fighter planes, proving aircraft can be all metal.
With the success of the Model 80 and Model 80A1, Boeing tried his luck with another passenger airliner. 1 year later, Boeing had created the Boeing 247D with the same all-metal design. This was the first ever sleek, modern passenger airplane. The 247D proved how passenger airliners can be profitable and successful. This aircraft was a stepping stone for modern commercial aircraft. This airplane had the first retractable landing gear for a commercial aircraft. The cabin was also insulated to suppress noise and regulate temperature. It also had pneumatic wing de-icer boots, which allowed for in-flight de-icing.
Retaining the same all-metal design as the 247D, the first ever prototype of the yet famous B-17 Flying Fortress took off from the runway and made its debut. Although the B-17s were in use, their production was quickly ramped up with the outbreak of World War II. The B-17 was the first ever created modern bomber plane. After Boeing made the B-17, he once again started to create another passenger airliner. In the following years, the Boeing 307 Stratoliner had its first flight with the newly designed pressurized cabin in 1938. It was the first of its kind. The 307 flew 7,500 meters in the sky, which is 25,000 feet, while other passenger aircraft at the time only flew 3,000 meters. The 307 flew above the weather with a 33-passenger capacity. It flew faster and more efficiently than other models. The 307 also flew quieter and smoother.
The pressurized cabin was a turning point and one of the most impressive feats for modern aviation. Pressurization, put in a simple manner, is when conditioned air is pumped into and exhausted out of the cabin of an aircraft to keep the pressure in a cabin between sea level and 8,000 feet. This is the height needed to have the right amount of oxygen to live.
After pressurization was created, Boeing had an idea of a new type of plane. The 314 Clipper was an aircraft/boat that was in operation from 1938 to 1951 and was operated in World War II. The 314 Clipper was impressive because of its non-stop services over 2,000 miles.
Fun fact, the Clipper had its test flights in the heart of Washington. The Clipper flew from Puget Sound to Seattle.
Overall, Boeing has had a standing impact on Washington. It's the world-renowned, first-of-a-kind, and revolutionary company. Boeing still and always will have an impact on the whole world, whether it's state-of-the-art aircraft or doors flying off the airplane. Boeing will always be the most iconic and legendary aircraft company.